Hello YouTube, Jason from Renegade Rants, and today I'm going to do a video that I've been actually wanting to do for a while. So, one of my best friends, Dave, and I actually had a conversation today. We've talked about this before, but he actually gave me a short box full of books. And I'm probably going to do a video on that, kind of an unboxing, even though it's a short box, because there's really some good stuff in there. But he's a different kind of collector than I am. And then we've kind of talked about it kind of thing. He's more of a reader. So I wanted to do a video on where I think I started as a collector, where I think I am as a collector, where do I think I'm going as a collector, and what kind of collectors are out there. And then I'm going to want to put it to you guys. If you like this video, like, share, subscribe, but leave me a comment. What collector do you think you are off of this list in the comments down below? Because I'd like to have a conversation with people to see where they think they fall into the categories. So I got on the interweb and was trying to figure out what maybe the actual official, designations are. So what I found was just the keys. So that would be a collector that, they're just buying the key books. Maybe it's slab, maybe it's raw, maybe it doesn't matter. But, they want Spider-Man 300, they're going to buy Spider-Man 300. They're not buying maybe the rest of the series unless it's a Spider-Man key book. Okay? Then there's the whole series collector. I need every Captain America. I need every Iron Man. I need every Punisher. Okay? There's a slab collector. Either they're just buying slabs to start with, or everything they get is going into a slab. And, there's people that do that. The run collector. The run collector and the whole series collector to me kind of mesh, but the run collector, they have a specific run that they want to collect the entire run, so that is what they're doing. Then there's the cover buyer. Now the cover buyer is where I'm going to rant for a minute, because the cover buyer is buying the cover that they want. Okay? They either like the cover or you want to display the cover kind of thing, not necessarily caring about the whole series or the run. But with the variant covers that they're putting out with now, where does that fall into the thing? And I'm guilty of it. I've bought variant covers along with buying the A cover, but to me, if you're doing the run, it should all be the A covers, but maybe I'm wrong, because when I'm trying to look stuff up, when I used to have my old physical book for Ghost Rider, and I would go through and I would look at the cover to see if I was getting the right book. So before, I use Key Collector now, and I'm not sponsored by Key Collector, but that's what I put my collection in. It's easier for me to pull out my phone, open up the app, and then see which one I want on my wish list, because it's got a picture of it. But those pictures are usually the A covers. You've got to search for the variant covers. So I'm probably an A collector, or A cover collector. Then there's the monthly pull list guy. Monthly pull list guy is getting the books and he wants to read them. Now, what happens to him after he reads them? I don't know. Do they go in a box? Dave is kind of a pull list / pick up a series or pick up a few issues and kind of complete a series. But after that, he's not collecting every one of the, every possible variation or every variant cover or anything. He just wants to read it and be done with it and then move on to something else. And then there's the flipper. So the flipper is probably the most evil of all of the collectors, because they're just buying the books to flip them and make profit, and maybe they buy up all of the ones that they can to, have a stranglehold on, the resource, and then flip them for the highest price when they come out. Now, we're all kind of flippers, because if I get a couple extra issues of something, I'm either going to do a trade or maybe try to put them on something to sell them to try to actually fund the hobby. And that's how most of us fund the hobby together. We take what we're selling for our collection or things that we actually pick up out, doing our comic hunts. Maybe we got a box to sell, or maybe we got a box to trade, or, maybe we take a box into the LCS and say, hey, give me an offer. What can I get with this? Kind of thing. So I've kind of put it down to some categories that I think I've fallen into, and I'm not sure where I'm going to end up. So I think there's the reader. Okay, they're either doing digital or physical. Okay, my buddy Dave, he's a physical reader. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't read digital, because I never really asked him that, but he goes on Free Comic Book Day with me. He picks up a stack, he reads them, but he doesn't necessarily collect, because that's even his words. I don't collect. I read and I store. And then eventually either gets sick of what he's got and then gives them to me, or, maybe he does a trade with them, or his cousin Sean, one of my best friends, Sean. Maybe he gives a few of them to him. We know enough friends that kind of like the same thing, so, whatever happens to them, that happens to them. Now, I started off as a reader. So when I was a kid, and I've told the story 10 million times now on the channel, but basically my uncle was a DC guy, and he had late 60s, early 70s to mid 70s DC. We had World's Finest, we had Flash, we had Superboy, we had Legion of Superheroes. And in one of the old rooms, in a box, not a box like we have for collectors, not bagged and boarded, these things just flopped in and sat and were all wrinkled and torn and twisted, but they were complete and I could read the story. So I would literally, as soon as I could read, I'm grabbing those comic books and reading them because they had pictures and it was awesome. And, you could, your imagination when you're a small child, or, just learning how to read, and you can put a picture to the, thing. And I think it helped me read better, because I read books. I don't read as much as I used to, but to me, a comic book is just perfect because you can look at the artistic expression of what the words are on the page. And some people get that, some people don't get that, but they storyboard a movie. Like anybody that goes and sees a movie is seeing a live comic book, because they storyboarded this thing with, panels and the characters all drawn out so that they could have an idea of where things were going to go, or scenes, or, moving stuff around. So I'm not a digital guy. Now, I can read stuff. I have to read stuff online at work and stuff like that, but I don't want to buy my comic as a digital, or even the free ones that you can look at. I don't want to grab a mouse and have to click to the next page, or try to zoom it, or, any of the stuff that's going on with that. I'm not a Kindle reader. I'm never going to be a Kindle reader. It's just not my thing. Some people, that's all they do. Like, I have a friend of mine that he told me all he does for comic books, and he's kind of a closeted comic book reader, because he still thinks there's a stigma about, being a comic book reader, and all he gets is digital. But he's got everything he ever wants to read for any of the series. He can just pull it right up and read it. And is that better than me having to say, which box was that in again? And then sort through or move 50 pounds worth of comics, to get to one issue that I want to reread or look at. So then there's the collector, or the run filler. Okay? I started off, when I would go to Free Comic Book Day, I would just buy back issues. So one of the LCSs I go to on Free Comic Book Day, doesn't matter if it's like $4.50 for the back issue price, anything that is not a new book up on the wall is $1. And it's the greatest sale, and it's, on Free Comic Book Day, so I always hit that shop, and I'd come out with a stack, and usually I was picking up quite a bit of fill that I needed. So I started doing Ghost Rider, and then I started doing older Ghost Rider, like anything I could, kind of put together. But I was getting them, and I was reading them as I got them. But the problem was, like from the 70s Ghost Rider, I've got this, I'm reading 2 issues that may follow suit, and then there's a 5-issue gap before I got the next issue. So, and at least back then, there were more self-contained stories, but there kind of was an ongoing theme going on with what happened. Or I'd read the issue that I was looking at, and it'd be like, what the hell happened? Like, he's at the circus? Now he's a daredevil? Now he's, like, what? So, I wanted to get the run fill, so I started trying to find run fillers. So it really started when I got a bug up my butt about Punishers, because I'm like, some of these books are going to start going for immense amount of money, and that's my childhood, like late 80s, 90s. That's Punisher I remember. That's what I wanted to get. So I bought 1 through 93 or 94. I can't remember how many issues there were. But I've got the, 90s Punisher run. And then I got the 80s miniseries, before that. But there's Warzone. There's War Journal. And those were interconnecting stories where, to be concluded in Warzone or to be continued in Warzone. So I have to get the Warzone and the War Journal. And I'm buying them, and they're still dollar books all day long. But those I'm not going to actively put myself in debt to go on eBay and pay twice as much to triple as much as I did with like some of the Ghost Rider books I bought. The Ghost Rider run. The 90s Ghost Rider, I was tripping over that stuff. And it'd be like, oh, and then I was too stupid to concentrate on buying everything, so I bought a couple Caps and a couple Iron Man, and I bought a couple Ghost Riders, even though I could have probably completed the Ghost Rider run right then and there for $30, because I had all the issues. But every year, it got harder to find those issues, and every year it got harder and harder to find those issues, until I'm buying some of the books that I could have got for $1. I am literally paying $10 to $20 per book, not including the shipping, eBay prices, because that's the only place I'm going to find them, and I'm like 3 issues away from having the run completed. So I was a reader, then I became a run filler or a collector, because having the Danny Ketch run wasn't enough. Then I started getting all the offshoots of the Danny Ketch run, and then, I might as well pick this one up. Well, the 70s Ghost Rider isn't getting any cheaper. But I already knew I had a certain amount of the 70s run that, I'd found, and I still found them every once in a while in a dollar bin, or maybe $5 a book. But I'm like, okay. And then when I was at Terrificon this year, there was more than half of what I needed, and they were either $5 or less. And I'm like, I'm pulling the trigger, and I literally bought them, and I kind of wish I hadn't bought a couple of the other things I bought, because I probably could have just finished it right at Terrificon, but I still need Ghost Rider 1, and that took forever to kind of save up after buying all of the other books to get the Ghost Rider 1 to complete that run. Well, now am I a run filler? Because I'm not reading as much as I used to, and I'll be perfectly honest, when I completed the Punisher run, I read it. When I completed the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider run, I read it, 1 through 94, okay? Sat down for a day and just kept on pulling them out and reading, because I had not read some of them in so long that I wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any of the continuity with the story. So I went from being a reader to a run filler or a collector now, because now I'm trying to get every Ghost Rider, okay? I'm not really big on the Robbie Reyes, but I'm going to pick them up if I see them. Any of the offshoot Ghost Riders that they've got. Wolverine. Started collecting the Wolverine. That has so many issues, and it has so many whatever. It's like, there's no way I can complete that. But I said that about Ghost Rider. I said that about the Danny Ketch Ghost Rider. I said that about the Punisher. So, am I now a collector that I must have the whole series? And then there's other people that are smarter, in my opinion, because they buy the trades or the omnibus. Now, part of the reason why I'm not keeping up on the reading is because I hate trying to open them out of the bag, pull them out of the bag, reading them, getting them back in the bag. I don't have some of the better quality ones, and if I do, I don't really want to be pulling them out 152 times to risk damaging them. But they're not high grade. Some of them are decent grade, but none of the books I own would probably do better than a 5.5 to a 7.0 all day long. My Ghost Rider 1, I read it when I got it. That is in such precarious deconstruction. I don't know really how to say it. The condition of it is so marginal that if I kept on trying to pull it out and reading it multiple times, it's going to tear. The cover's going to completely tear off. The one corner is going to completely tear off. So it's a one and done. I read it. It went into a bag and board, and it went into one of the comic capsules. And I'm not sponsored by Comic Capsule, but I do like them. Okay. It protected it. Then I had to go out and send it to CGC or anything, because sending that book to CGC would be the stupidest thing I've ever done, because I guarantee you they would say it's a 2.0 to a 2.5. And that's being very optimistic. So for me to spend, having to buy the CGC membership, having to ship it there, pay for the grading, pay for the shipping on the way back, it's not worth it. I'll put it in one of those capsules and be done with it, and I can display it, and it's up on display, and I've shown it off on a couple live chats I've been on, and I've showed it off on one of the videos I did here. So the trade omnibus people are the smartest people I think that there are, because instead of actually waiting for each issue month by month, they're waiting until it comes out in either a trade. They're buying the trade. They can sit down and read the whole story if they want to in one sitting. The omnibus, they're getting the whole collected series for, one event, or, one character for X amount of issues, and they're reading it. Now, I don't have the room for an omnibus, but I look at like Jim Mint, and he's got the most beautiful room with the omnibuses in there kind of thing. But I'm looking at the Danny Ketch one that just came out, going, I could have bought that, saved so much money on the collection, it'd take up so much less room, and I would probably be more apt to read that multiple times than dig through moving 50 pounds of comics to get to that Danny Ketch run so I can actually go through and reread everything. So, and then there's the slab for slab guy. Now I own 2 slabs, okay? First slab I ever bought, actually the only slab I've ever bought, was the Morbius here. It's a 7.5. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's one of the older slab cases. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's newer. But I got this for less than it would have cost to actually send this out. So it was when the movie was coming out, and basically I got on eBay because I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to get that book, because I needed it for my Ghost Rider, because, Rise of the Midnight Suns anyway, because it was kind of a crossover, event. So I'm like, well, I need that. It was cheaper to buy that slab than it was to buy the raw book in a couple of the eBay auctions I saw. So this guy took one hell of a hit, from sending it in to begin with, so I don't know if he didn't want it anymore. Maybe it was somebody that was no longer around, and the people that were selling off his collection didn't care. They just want it gone. So, because it does become a thing with space, too. Like, if you're a run feller, or a, whole series collector, some of these boxes take up so much space. And then you have to be careful. Is it too close to the heat? Is it near a water pipe that if the water pipe breaks... Like, I've heard horror stories where people have them in the basement, and then all of a sudden the pipe in the basement floods, and there goes everything. But you don't want it near heat either, because that'll dry the paper out, and unless you have them in some kind of protective thing better than the bags and boards I'm buying, I'm drying out my comics. I'm causing damage to them, but I don't have other places to store them, or that might be the thing. So I started off as a reader. I became a whole series or, run feller collector. I do buy trades once in a while, but that's for usually series that I just want to read the thing in one shot. Like, I've got a whole bunch of, my friend Sean gets me on Christmas, like, he picked up a whole bunch of John Constantine trades. Especially if they're, beat up kind of copies where you can get them, a lot less than a brand new one. And I don't, I love those because I don't feel that I have to take care of them as much, but I am going to be honest, when I bought the trades of any of the Ghost Rider, like the newer series from Jason Aaron or whatever in the early 2000s, I was buying those because I thought it would be easier to buy those than trying to fill in the individual issues I was missing because I couldn't find them. Now I'm trying to find those issues because now I became a run collector, so I already have some of the issues. I might as well get them all, even though I had them in a trade. And in the trades, I actually put the trade, after I read it, into a bag. I don't, board it, but I put it in a bag so that the cover doesn't get all damaged. It's a never-ending cycle. So, now, the only other slab I've got is this was a gift from my girlfriend. Okay? And it's signed by Art Germ right there. But I'm not a slab guy. I still kind of want to read the comic book, but I've already said earlier, I don't read them anymore. I'm getting the collections in. I'm reading anything that I get off of my pull list. It's going in a bag and board, and it's going in a box. And then there's half the time where I have to move 3/4 of the collection in order to put it away where it goes, or I've got an extra box, which is books I need to read. I now have 3 short boxes of comics I need to read because I'm not making time to read them. I am so consumed by getting this run or, getting this series kind of thing. I'm not getting the enjoyment that I used to. But the worst thing is, when I was just a reader and picking up a few issues here and there, it was driving me nuts that I was missing one of the issues to actually read. I think I'm going insane. Maybe you're with me, maybe you're not. But the definition of insanity is in my case right here. Is doing the same behavior over and over again and expecting change. Like, I want to sit down and read. When I actually get ready to sit down and read a comic, I come up with an idea for a video. At one point, I actually was thinking of starting a series where I would just start reading the comic books into the camera so that I'm at least reading what I want to read and seeing if anybody wants to read the story with me. And I am not comic historian or, any of the other, wonderful channels that do that and are able to show the pictures and stuff. So I'd just be sitting here going, hey guys, look at that picture right there. But, what kind of collector are you? Like, does it matter what kind of collector you are? Like, the comic community right now, like, I joined this maybe 6 or 7 months ago. I'm not even sure. Let's see, June, July, August, September, October. So, just about 6 months ago. I've been watching channels for years. Okay? And, I have my inspirations. I've talked about them before. But these are the channels that actually are putting out content that people want to watch. I thought I could add something to the community. And I think I have. But like, the whole Renegade Rants thing. I said rants because when I initially was going to start a YouTube channel, it was going to be me ranting about crap that bugged me. Except in today's political day and age, and everything else going on in the country, I don't want to be overly negative. Like, this is me ranting about what kind of collector I am. Okay? But I can't. I don't have the brain space or whatever, and I don't really want to change the name because Renegade Comics was already taken. So I just added the comics after the Renegade Rants when I did my first video, and then that's where it's kind of stuck. And I've had some people jump onto a chat or a live stream, and they're like, oh, Renegade Rants, uh-oh. Like, I'm going to be the sticky goose of the conversation. Hey, everybody's got a niche somewhere, or niche, or whatever you want to call it. Now, what I want to ask you guys, and I want you to comment down below, for anybody that watches this, what kind of collector are you? Where did you start off? Where do you think you are now? Where do you think you're going? Where am I going? I'm going to be a whole series collector. At least with the Ghost Riders. The Halvarine that just came out, I'm going to get everything possible with Halvarine. And I'm not a real big modern book guy. That's why I missed out on Absolute Batman. But that doesn't really even bother me. It bothers me because of the potential for the, return on investment. But then does that make me a flipper? I have yet to sell one comic book or trade one comic book since I've really started collecting seriously again in the last 20 years. And it's not because I'm unwilling to, it's because I didn't know anybody or where to go to even do that. Like, I took a few things into an LCS, and they really there was no value there. They told me that, which maybe I understand that, but like in the community, somebody that is a Captain America guy, and if I wanted to get rid of some of my Captain Americas, I don't have all the keys. I got a couple keys. They're not in great shape, but if I could trade those to somebody that's in the community and, you know, maybe eventually get a better Ghost Rider 1, or trade, you know, start trading up to getting better copies for the run I already have. And I do not want to be that guy. I do not want to sit there and go, well, I got a 6.5 and I need a 9.0, because I don't care. Like, but do I? Because I've got Ghost Rider 1 on the wall, but the fact that it's in such bad shape makes me go, well, you know, if I could trade up, you know, sell that one, trade a few things, and trade up and get a better copy. And then part of me is like, well, maybe I could get a CGC copy, because it's not really that much more if, you know, I trade a few other things. And then does that make me a slab collector? Got 2 slabs. I don't even look at slabs anymore. And then I was actually looking at possibly slabbing some of my stuff until I realized I've gotten so I can pretty much grade halfway decent, and the comic book community, all the channels on here, you can learn so much. And even if it's just somebody unboxing, somebody going through and telling you who the cover artist was on this, or telling you who the writer was, or even the year the comic came out, that is so helpful. And then there's certain channels that are, you know, comic tropes. Mon Comics is going to start doing a, you know, more of a deep dive into the actual, like, history of the comic, you know, for his unboxings and stuff. That is so informative, and it will actually, like, you know, help you understand what is going on. You know, what was the time frame when this story came out? I'm a history guy. Like, of all the things that I do, I watch documentaries, and then a couple of the videos I've done, I've tried to make it like documentary style, because that interests me. You know, I love seeing old pictures. I love seeing, you know, my grandfather, God rest his soul, you know, he used to actually talk about his time over in Japan, you know, from World War II. Literally, I would be sitting salivating with those stories. My great-grandfather, his father was in World War I, got gassed over in Germany, or in France, when they were fighting the Germans. You know, I can trace the lineage kind of back, but to me, these people were my age at one point. What was going on then? I like looking at an older comic book, like from the 70s or the 60s. What was going on around them? Like, you know, which month was it? Was this right after Martin Luther King Jr. went to, you know, did the Million Man March down in Washington, D.C.? And is any of that kind of like, you know, feeding over into the way the book is written? You know, is Vietnam going horrific, you know, where night after night, you know, and just, you know, bad news all the way around? So is this book kind of trying to, you know, feed on that? Or is it maybe even trying to take our mind off of what was going on in the country? Was Nixon getting impeached? Or Nixon resigning or whatever? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I actually like to see. What was the stories going on? And to me, Marvel always will be, they kind of made more realistic, you know, kind of with events books. And that's not saying anything against DC, but I know that DC had the whole Speedy hooked on drugs kind of storyline, which was shocking at the time. And then, you know, Marvel had the Iron Man as an alcoholic storyline, you know, Demon in a Bottle. I had that trade. I don't know what I did with it, and I regret not knowing where that is, because I would read that story over and over again even now, and I read it probably 20 times when I got it. And somehow it's in one of the, is missing out of the collection. But right now it's not on the top of my list to buy. I thought about trying to buy the, you know, single issues or the raw issues of it. I don't have the price range to even buy halfway decent quality copies of it, and I don't really want to get junk. But I'm a junk collector. I mean, honest to God, if you really want to know what I consider my collection, it's junk. It's stuff that interests me. Maybe other Ghost Rider, collectors would look at my Ghost Rider collection saying that is impressive. And that is what I would like to have somebody say. But I know that I have enough books in there that are rusty staples or, page quality's bad. I've watched videos on pressing and cleaning. I actually have cleaned some of mine. But I'm not in any way, shape, or form going to put a video up on me cleaning it, because I'm cleaning it just to make it look more presentable. But I'm picking that stuff up off of the community channels that are out there where the people are actually halfway decent. And I really, at some point, because I have seen Comic Spa, or Jeff from Comic Spa, that's always on Lunch Money channel, like Mike showed a video of what he can do, and none of my books warrant his skill set. That's the only way to describe it. So does that mean I'm collecting trash? Am I the junk man? Am I the trash man? Part of me wants to do like a little live stream, and I've been throwing out ideas of, Bonehead, the greatest line ever in the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider movie. The first one is when Sam Elliott goes, "Hello, Bonehead." And that's what I almost want to call like any of the fans of the channel. But I also don't want to be politically incorrect where people are going to go, "Why are you calling me a bonehead?" So, but what kind of a collector are you? I've rambled for about half an hour now, and if you made it to the end of this video, thank God. If you like this sort of content, I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. Every subscription helps the channel. Every like helps the channel. Comments help the channel. You don't like this. It's too long-winded. I was rambling. Please write that to me. If you did like it and you want to tell me you consider yourself this collector, or did you start off as a reader and then go into a, whole series or slab collector or run collector. So I'm going to sign off now. I hope everyone has a great week. If you have to work, good luck. And then I hope everyone is around next weekend, November 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Heroes for Heroes is having the big auction. There are some great slab books. There are some great raw books. There is wonderful artists like, Chip Zdarsky, those kind of people that have actually donated a lot of artwork. And this auction is going to benefit Mission 22, and we have to take care of our vets because they help take care of this country. So, signing off. See you next time.